Representative Katie Porter is a boss. Now, recently, she's made some headlines after grilling Housing and Urban Development Secretary Ben Carson. Now, Ben Carson, again, he's the head of HUD. It's an interesting way to phrase that. But he's not a very smart person. He's not a very good head of the Department for Housing and Urban Development, which is evidenced in this exchange between Ms. Porter and Mr. Carson. Now, during this hearing, she asked Carson about REO homes. Now, REO, not Speedwagon, but REO homes are acquired by HUD after a foreclosure on a FHA-insured mortgage. So that's pretty serious business, right? Now, she noted that FHA loans end up in REO far more than other loans. And she had asked Ben Carson to explain why. Here was that interesting exchange.
Do you know what an REO is?
An Oreo?
No, not an Oreo. An REO. REO.
Real estate?
What's the O stand for?
Organization?
Owned, real estate owned. That's what happens when a property goes to foreclosure. We call it an REO. And FHA loans have much higher REOs. That is, they go to foreclosure rather than to loss mitigation or to non-foreclosure alternatives like short sales than comparable loans at the GSEs. So I'd like to know why we're having more foreclosures that end in people losing their homes with stains to their credit and disruption to their communities and their neighborhoods at FHA than we are at the GSEs.
All right, again, Katie Porter, total boss, and actually literally had to explain a housing term to the head of Housing and Urban Development while he's going on about Oreos. Oh, I like Oreos. I like cookies. Why don't I have some cookies? No, we're talking about something really important. That's people literally losing their homes through foreclosure. But again, you would think you would know about that. You think you would understand at least the very minimum about his job. But no, he doesn't because he's stupid. Or there's the other possibility. He doesn't care. Or both, he's stupid and doesn't care. I mean, it's the same guy, of course, who said the pyramids were built for grain storage. Not a very smart person. Now, that led Porter to go off later on after this went viral. She said, quote, "My questions were serious. They weren't actually designed to be funny." Well, no kidding. They were serious questions about a serious issue, foreclosure. It was Ben Carson that literally turned this into a circus. He said, quote, "He's clearly done absolutely nothing to even learn about this problem, much less address it." Now, she's got even more harsh statements about this, and I love the fire. Quote, "The result is that not only are families being put in foreclosure when we could have avoided it, lenders are paying higher costs, and the end result is taxpayer dollars are being misused. And we're ultimately reducing the supply of credit and the cost of credit to low-income homeowners." Again, that prevents people with lower incomes from actually being able to buy a home. She said that's a problem that should concern every American who wants to see this economy growing. And these are legitimate issues, especially as she points out, foreclosure seems to be the preferred method of homes that are FHA backed. Now, that's odd because the federal government wants to avoid losing money in foreclosure, right? And should be more than willing to work with borrowers to avoid that issue, except that that's not happening under Secretary Carson. They would rather go to foreclosure than do any sort of other mitigation. And Porter says, also after this, that she was insulted by Carson's lack of knowledge on this issue. Quote, "Mr. Carson did not only not know anything about this, but he told me it was my job to explain to him and come to HUD and teach his staff." No, that's your job. You're the head of HUD. That is your job to learn about this and then to explain to your staff. But he knows nothing because he's a political appointee. Now, Porter also said, that shows a real disrespect for the importance of this job to the American people. You know who else has also been in the job for years and hasn't learned how to do it? President Trump. And, of course, Betsy DeVos. Betsy DeVos is probably one of the bigger examples, even more so than Ben Carson, because she still literally knows nothing. She is more high profile than Carson, but just as dumb. This is a joke to them. They don't know anything about their respective departments, and they don't care to know about them. Now, this is evidenced by, of course, Carson later on sending a package of Oreos to Representative Porter. She said, quote, "Mr. Carson, yesterday when I got back to my office, he had a package of Oreos delivered to me. But what I want from Mr. Carson is answers for the American people." There's another thing that Katie Porter also wants from Mr. Carson, and that's his resignation. Yeah. She said, quote, "I can't speak to President Trump's motives, but I can speak to the outcome to American families and businesses, which we are all losing by not having competent, strong, effective, intelligent leadership at HUD." And she said flatly that she does not believe that Carson should be able to hold his job. Dang. Now, when we talk about strength and leadership, this is what we mean as progressives. Katie Porter is actually fighting for the American people, while Ben Carson is dismantling the agency he was put in charge of and making ridiculous jokes about cookies and Oreos when it comes to people facing foreclosure, which is probably one of the worst things that can happen to you. It is very, very serious. Just ask people who've had to go through that process. They know how terrible it is. And yet, Carson's going to joke about it. But that's what happens when you put people in positions of power with the sole purpose of wrecking these agencies that are designed to help you so that government can be more ineffective. Again, that's the whole point. They want government to be ineffective so they can sell it off to private corporations. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.